Hi, and welcome to Fellowship of Fans. Today we have a very special guest who you may recognize, Tea with Tolkien. In 2017, struggling to find ways to connect with Tolkien fans who shared her faith, Caitlin Fasista started her own online community built around the life, works, and faith of J.R.R. Tolkien. Since then, it has grown exponentially. Her Discord has over 4,000 members, I think, who chat daily and conduct a weekly book club. Currently, we're reading The Silmarillion, and her social media following exceeds 100,000, I think. She has been on the Tolkien Society's shortlist for best online content in both 2023 and 2025. She was interviewed by Felicia Day for the Rings of Power after show segment, and she is the author of a new book releasing on February 20th, Into the Heart of Middle-earth, exploring faith and fellowship in J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. So, guys, gals, and pals, please welcome Tea with Tolkien.
That was quite the introduction. I feel like almost like embarrassed by, oh my gosh, like it's a lot of stuff.
I know, you're just so amazing and valued in this community. It's like an honor to have you on the show today.
I'm super excited. I know this is going to be really fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to start off by talking about your background with Tolkien before we dive into the book. So, I know from reading your book, which is amazing, and we'll talk more about it later, that you got into Tolkien by watching the movies when they came out when we were in middle school. So, what was the moment or character or thing that you remember most from that first experience watching those movies that grabbed you and, like, made you obsessed with Tolkien?
Well, what's crazy is I don't even remember like actually watching the movies for the first time. I just remember this feeling of like I have to be a part of this and I am obsessed with this world. It was really like, I need to explore this entire world. I have to learn as much as I can about Middle Earth. And so, yeah, just like snowballed from there. There really wasn't like a particular moment that I can even remember. It was just this sense of like, I need more of this.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I mean, did you, like, obsessively watch the appendices like I did once they were on DVD and just,
Yeah.
yeah, devour
Yeah.
those front to back?
Yeah, we had a there's like a used record store where I grew up and they had like they sold DVDs too. And I remember when I found the extended editions with the appendices and everything, that was like the best day of my life.
Yeah, I think I still have mine somewhere in this house, but I don't even think we have a DVD player at this point that can play them, so
I
they
know,
just
isn't
sit
that the
there.
weird thing? It's like sad.
I know, physical media dying, but I will keep those forever. Treasured, treasured possessions. So, in the preface of your book, you talk about making your first pilgrimage after being received into the Catholic Church to Oxford. And that was a very moving part for me. I've been there and just like, you just kind of feel like Tolkien all around. So, what was that like for you? Like, what were the emotions of that?
It was crazy. The first time I got to go to Oxford was just such a whirlwind. My husband and I were living in kind of like the London area, so it was pretty easy. We just like hopped on the train and went over there, and it felt so surreal. Like, it's crazy to me that some people just live there, like, every day and have a totally normal life, where when I go there, I'm like, "This is so massive," to be able to kind of walk in, like, the footsteps of Tolkien, which sounds so dramatic, I guess, when you say it out loud, but it was a big moment. It was so cool.
I think you're among people who feel the same way in your community. It's not dramatic to us. I mean, it feels like a fairy tale, not a real world to kind of be around that environment. So I totally get it. Oh, you said that you don't really remember your first experience of watching the movies, but what was a moment that was transformative for you that made you go from, okay, I like Tolkien to like, I want to devote my life to studying the life and works of this man?
I would say that probably happened sometime in high school. One memory that I have is in art class, we had to do a calligraphy project. And throughout high school, anytime we had any project, I was always like trying to find ways to make Lord of the Rings fit. And so this was easy. I was like, "Oh, I can do a quote from The Lord of the Rings and do it, like, real nice." And so I picked a line from the poem, "All that is gold does not glitter." And so I think that was probably a big moment for me where I went to a Christian high school, and I was talking to one of my teachers about the poem, and she was like, "Hey, did you know there's kind of a little symbolism in this poem that is connected to Christ in a way?" And for me, that was, like, huge. I was like, "Wait a second." Like, it was like my worlds were colliding in a way. And so that kind of prompted me to, like, then want to dig deeper into The Lord of the Rings and study it a lot more in depth.
Yeah, did you have, like, calligraphy pens and you would, like, write in the Hobbit script?
Yes. I actually still have this art project too.
Oh my
It's in my
gosh,
basement up in we have, like, a little bar area, and it's on the wall. So I kept it.
I think you need to post it.
Okay. I'll have to send you a picture, yeah.
I think your community would very much enjoy it.
Little, 14-year-old me doing my calligraphy.
It's adorable. Okay, and speaking of your community, I wanna talk a little bit about Tea with Tolkien, which you started in 2017, and it has grown into quite the community over on Discord. I think that's probably the main place where you interact beyond social media. It's it's very unique as far as communities go because it's just like 100% positive, uplifting, like warm, welcoming community that I've been a part of. So, I wanted to ask you, I know you've spoken in other interviews about rules and modding and all of the stuff that goes into making a community like that, but what is the thing you love most about having a community of your own centered around Tolkien, besides being able to talk about Tolkien?
I feel like the best part about it has been the way that we all just like live our normal lives together. It's a place where people come because they're drawn to Tolkien and we want to talk about Tolkien, but we have kind of like we have a channel that's just like regular chit chat. It's called the Common Room, and that's active every day. People are just like, talking about their lives. They're like talking about their dogs or talking about their families, and so being able to share your lives with these other people who happen to also love Tolkien. So it's like we're on the same page in this area, and that allows us to grow in like really authentic friendship in a lot of other areas. So that's been like definitely the best part.
Yeah, I think it's really sweet. I know you have a prayer request channel, and it's really moving to see people share about their lives there and just kind of come together to support each other. And I know you're one thing I love about the community is obviously you speak a lot about your faith and Catholicism, and that was part of the reason why you started the community to discuss Tolkien's faith and everything, but it's not exclusionary at all. So you find people from tons of different walks of life and faith within that community. So how have you created an environment to foster that kind of non-exclusionary discussion?
It's honestly been pretty straightforward. The only thing I ask is like I say anyone's welcome to join our community. The only thing I ask is that you're respectful when topics of religion come up because that's a kind of a core element of our community. And so we've really only had like one user who I've ever had to ban who went off on this kind of like crazy rant that was like, the Pope is the devil and stuff. Like very abnormal. Like, most people in general are very normal. It's like we all disagree on different things, everyone has their opinions, but we kind of just have this mutual respect amongst each other in the community. And then I would also say, obviously, having good moderators helps a lot. I think we have, like, 12 moderators, and it's really helpful because everyone can kind of share the load, and it's not too overwhelming or stressful. And then I would also say having rules clearly defined also helps quite a lot. So really,
Yes.
like, there's not a lot of drama that happens in our server, and I'm very thankful for that. I also kind of gatekeep it kind of hard in a sense because to get into the Discord, you have to sign up for my email newsletter and then you're emailed the link. So that prevents a lot of like spam bots and stuff that might usually join a server.
I waited patiently for my invite once I signed up, I remember.
Yeah.
But no, it's so fun to be a part of, and the book club is amazing. Like, I love reading through the Silmarillion, and you open a channel for each week of discussion, and people just post their thoughts and go back and forth, and then have the voice chat on the weekend. I think it's an awesome way to be able to do like a virtual book club.
Yeah, it's been super fun. I'm always thankful for that. And I love the kind of the format we do it where there's a channel for each week. That way, if you fall behind, you don't have to worry about like spoilers. You can be like, I stopped reading at week 4, even though they're on week 8. I can just kind of hang out in the week 4 channel until I get there.
Yeah, because the Silmarillion is not an easy read, so it's been fun to see first-time readers joining the chat and talking about, having a book club like this and discussion makes it so much easier to get through what can be a pretty difficult text, and
Yeah, and it's fun because a lot of people have questions that I would never have even thought because I'm so like deep in the Silmarillion lore. And I know that if someone is having that question, other people are also probably just as confused. So being able to answer those kind of questions that might feel really simple to me or straightforward, a lot of people are very confused. Like the Silmarillion is not easy. So being able to help people and kind of like guide them through that, it feels like such a privilege to me.
yeah, and a collaborative one too because you see people posting, like, maps each week that, like,
Yeah.
show the journey that the characters went through during that chapter, or, like, character pages, and, yeah, it's a really cool collaborative type of book club that I think is really unique.
Yeah, I love it too because it's not all like about me. It's not all on me. I just see myself as like the organizer of this community. And I'm very happy when other people want to come in and share their knowledge and their perspectives because I don't know everything.
Shout out to Gideon.
Yes, we love Gideon and a lot of other users. They're so helpful.
Yeah, well, speaking of book club, I think the next book on the Tea with Tolkien reading list is Into the Heart of Middle-earth. You guys are doing that for the next book club, right?
Yeah, yeah. We start in March. I think it's just March and April.
Okay, well, I received my copy yesterday. I had been reading off an
I have mine
e-copy.
too.
Oh, look at that. It's a beautiful book. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It is such an accomplishment. I was moved to tears several times. I'm sure I will have some quotes that I would like to bring up at some point. But I wanted to ask you first. So, you've talked about that your publisher approached you to write a book. How long did it take you to decide what you wanted to write and to nail down the topic?
So when my publisher approached me, what we did was I came up with like 4 different ideas of what I thought might be a good book. And then I've worked very closely with my editor to kind of see like what did they want? Like what did they think people could read? Because they're kind of the experts on like knowing what people actually want to read. Like I can write about Celebrimbor and Feanor all day long, but is anyone going to buy a book on it? I don't know. And so I came up with like 4 ideas. And then I really just had to think like, what's my mission with Tea with Tolkien? What is my goal? And that kind of all comes back to like helping people and encouraging them to become more of a hobbit at heart. And that's like really the whole foundation of the book. So it was pretty easy after I did a little brainstorming. It was probably took like a couple weeks.
Do you have a favorite memory of the process of writing the book? Something you'll look back on in 10 years and
Yeah. My so the process of writing the book was very kind of funny because I found out I was pregnant like the week after I signed the contract. And that was obviously very exciting, but it also was kind of like scary. Like, how am I going to write a book while dealing with like morning sickness? And then after the baby's born, I'll have a newborn baby. But so what ended up happening was that I wrote a lot of the book on my phone. So I would be like, holding my phone with one hand, and then I'd have the baby, like, sleeping on me like this, and I'd
Oh,
literally type, like, the probably at least half of the book on my phone while I'm just, like, snuggling a newborn baby, and so that was, like that's probably, like, the sweetest memory of the whole thing. It was really, really nice, and it worked out well.
oh, that's a beautiful memory. I love that. Um, yeah, so I mentioned earlier that you've created and fostered this environment that's really non-exclusionary to people of other faiths. So I wanted to like, obviously, this book is marketed as talking about, the faith of Tolkien and Catholicism in step with, his works and his life. So, what is one thing I mean, obviously, there are lots of things, but what is one particular thing you think might draw in non-religious readers into your book?
Well, yeah, I wrote the book hoping that anyone would get something out of it. It's kind of I tried to take the same approach as Tolkien does when he's writing The Lord of the Rings. He's obviously working from his own perspective, which happens to be Catholic, and that's kind of the same perspective that I'm writing from. But he never sat down to be like, I'm writing an allegory or I'm writing a sermon or anything like that. He first and foremost sat down to write a good story. And that's why it's so great. It's not meant to be like boiled down into anything. It's just an amazing story that happens to have a lot of really great symbolism and perspective woven into it. So my goal is always to kind of take that same approach. Tolkien says he doesn't like allegory, but he prefers applicability, and that preserves the freedom of the reader. So well, we're all about that here. But my hope was for anyone reading the book that first of all, I think I find learning about Tolkien's life and the way that his faith influenced his life super interesting. So even just on like a biographical um note, you might enjoy learning about different things. There's some different saints that we talk about in the book who actually were important to Tolkien's life. There's saints that he wrote about in his letters. He even compared Frodo to one of the saints. He wrote a poem about a different saint. So there's a lot of stuff like that that really is just kind of adds to your information about Tolkien's life. But then I think a lot of different elements of his faith are pretty universal, like themes of hope, courage, fellowship. Like that is really relevant to anybody, no matter what your religious background.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Did you hear my cat?
Yeah, is that a cat? I couldn't tell if it was a dog or a cat making little noises.
Yeah, it's my cat. She was fine, and then my husband just got home, so I'll cut this out, but
What's your cat's name?
Boba, but mostly we just call her Kitty.
That's so cute. My cat looks just like that. I don't know where
Really?
she is though. Yeah, they look like they could be buddies.
She's a dumpster cat, so
Hmm.
she's from the streets, but I'm gonna let her out so she doesn't
Okay.
scream. Eh, okay, you can go. Go on. No, the cat. Get out. Might leave in some of it. You
The-
see how that
Everyone
sounded.
likes seeing cats.
I know. Yeah, I love how your book I think each chapter has a discussion about a different saint.
Hmm.
I wasn't familiar with so many of them, so learned a lot about these different they're all such great stories. Can't remember the one that you compared to Frodo. Is it the one who dug the well and then
Yeah,
didn't
Saint
yeah.
Bernadette. Yeah, she had like a miraculous vision where she was told to dig this well, and then from the well comes this miraculous healing water. But Bernadette herself never went to the water to be healed. She just instead kind of heroically sacrificed her own self. And Frodo is very similar. Tolkien talks about it like very specifically in a letter that they were meant to be very similar. And it's really funny though, because there was a movie that came out about this saint during Tolkien's lifetime, and he went to see the movie and he like was obsessed with the movie, and he wrote about it in like four different letters. And he's just like, I'm still thinking about this movie that I saw last week. I was so touched by it. And I just think that's so cute. Like he just was like loved this movie that he saw. So I need to write down whatever that movie is called and I need to watch it too.
Yeah, I have read a lot of Tolkien's letters, but didn't recall him mentioning being such a fanboy of Saint Bernadette, so I thought that was really cute too.
Yeah, it's just like it kind of gives you a fun picture of Tolkien and it makes him feel less like a statue on the wall and like he was a regular guy, like a real person.
Yeah, that kinda leads in okay, so I have a question, it's a little bit abstract, and I'm trying to think of a way to word it. So, it has to do with Frodo and also another saint that you write about, Saint Brendan the Navigator,
Mhm.
who obviously I connected with immediately because I was like, "Added." So, a mariner searching for paradise, and that got me thinking about Tolkien's concept of the sea longing. Um, it's really interesting because Tolkien himself didn't really seem to have that much of a, connection to the sea. So it feels very much like a metaphor for something else. So I wanted to just like have a little discussion. Like, what do you kind of see the sea longing that the elves experience and talk about a lot, or someone like Tuor or Arendelle, like these characters who just are constantly called to go to the sea? Like, what does that mean to you?
My guess, I mean, like, I never like to put words into Tolkien's mouth, but my guess is that it's not necessarily the sea itself, but it's like the sea as a means of transportation to bring you to the blessed realm. So for Tolkien, it was probably in his own life, it probably symbolized kind of this longing that he has for heaven, and the longing to kind of be connected to the divine. And that's kind of the way that the blessed realm functions in the Lord of the Rings. It's like you have this place that everyone wants to go to. It's like this special place, and especially for like the Noldor, that's a place they want to return to. That's just my guess.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that tracks completely. I mean, it wasn't something I had thought about really specifically before, like, why are they obsessed with the sea? But it's more the sea as a means of transporting you to something greater, like a better place, or healing in the case of Frodo. I don't think
Yeah.
I mean, he has visions of kind of the blessed realm, I think, at different points and dreams about it, but he doesn't particularly, I don't think, have a desire to go and be on the sea like some of these other characters, but his is more, I guess, searching for healing that he can't receive in Middle Earth.
Yeah, for Frodo, it's so sad because really what he wanted was a normal hobbit life. And that's exactly what he had to sacrifice in order to bring the ring to its destruction. So it's very
Yeah.
tragic.
It's really sad also to think about, like, Tolkien experiencing that in a sense throughout his whole life. I mean, from his experience after the war, like, you could kind of think about that he's, in a sense, had that feeling since he lost a lot of his friends during the war, and that feeling of not being able to really return home to the life that he had before, and then living another he had a great life, he had a wife that he loved, and he had children, but I get the sense that he always kinda had that feeling in him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so much tragedy in Tolkien's life. He lost both of his parents at a young age, and then he sees his home, like, ravaged by war. He has to go to war. Almost all of his friends die. And then, even after he survives the First World War, he then has to send his own children to go to World War II. And he knows better than anyone, like, absolute horrors that now his own kids have to face. And so, like, as a parent, that just had to be completely gut wrenching for him. And it's like this sense of like, generations before me got to grow up in peace. Why don't I? And
Mm.
I think a lot of us kind of feel that as we're constantly living in these unprecedented times, like we yearn for precedented times.
Yeah,
And like, sorry, but that's not what we got. And
yeah,
we just have to, as Gandalf says, like, choose, I forget the quote, of course, but, choose whatever we do with the time that we're given.
yeah. I wanna read a quote from your book that I found very encouraging and moving. So if you will humor me, this quote, "We will all experience seasons of darkness in our lives, Sometimes it is necessary to pass through that darkness in order to see the light more clearly. Sometimes we'll have to wait out the night, cherishing the memory of the sun until we can see its radiance rising once more. And sometimes that dawn won't happen in our lifetime. Sometimes our problems can't be solved in this life. That's where the elven sense of Estel comes in once again. We can cling to faith, knowing that we are created for goodness and are sustained with the plans of providence. If we let it, this belief can be both an anchor and guiding light. That was really moving for me to read. Just, you know, you have s- such a sense of peace that you convey through your words about, I mean, some of these horrible experiences that you've shared that you've gone through. So I think reading something like that is really encouraging. Even if you're not of a similar faith background, I think having, you know, faith or hope that there's something beyond this life that you can look forward to is really something that we can draw peace from and help us through some of these really difficult experiences. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to thank you for that. That was one quote that I thought was really spectacular. Although there are several that I have included in this interview. I might not be able to read them all, but that was one that I was like, I gotta read it.
I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, I love that section from, the Athrobeth where Finrod is, like, talking about Estelle, and he's like, "We have this belief that, like, no one can take us from Eru, the one who made us, like, not even ourselves." Like, it's just something that's such a solid belief for them that they're like, "If we were created for goodness, then nothing can take us away from that." And so I thought that was, of course, that's Middle Earth theology. I don't know how you could apply that to our own lives exactly, and I don't know if Tolkien would really want us to, but a lot of this is rooted in Tolkien's own worldview and his own faith. So it's fun to explore.
Yeah. I love how you drop in nuggets from some niche Tolkien texts like the Atherbeth. And then, in the next sentence, you're talking about Frodo in Lord of the Rings. So there's just such a nice array of characters and texts that you reference in your book that I think will be super interesting to new readers or readers who might not be familiar with anything from Tolkien beyond like The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. So it's really educational in that way to, yeah, include
Yeah.
these types of characters too.
I tried to, like, bring it down so that it wasn't going to be overwhelming for people, because in my first draft of the book, I was like, "Let's spend 2 pages talking about Numenor," and my editor was like, "We need to, like, bring this back," or I would kinda, like, drop different elements of the lore without explaining them. And I think thankfully my editor, he's like a very like a casual Tolkien fan, and it was great for us to work together because I'm in my own head thinking about like Fingolfin all day, and he's like, "Finn who?" And so it was great to be able to like balance that to make sure that we do put these kind of fun and important lore nuggets into the book because they enrich your reading of Tolkien so much, but not to overwhelm people because that's the last thing I want is someone to be like, "Oh, I'm not smart enough to read this book." Like, no, you are smart enough.
Yeah, I think you struck the balance perfectly. And whenever there is a character someone might not be familiar with, you give like the requisite background to understand the context of
Good.
this particular story.
That's good to know. Good to hear.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it translated well because I'm always like unsure of how well I did it.
Yeah. So I have a couple specific questions for you that I think I have prepared you for if you got to look at them or think about them at all. So, what is the moment in Tolkien that most embodies hope for you? So, you talk about Amdir and Estelle throughout the book, and you talk about these different moments that really encapsulate these different concepts of Tolkien. But I don't know if you ever specified like a favorite or the one that really nails it down.
So It's definitely when Frodo and Sam are in Mordor and Sam sees the star twinkling above. Because, and I don't think Tolkien ever said this, but I believe, like with my whole heart, that that star is the star of Eärendil. And
Yes.
so when you think about it, you have, these little hobbits in a big world and they're surrounded by darkness all around them. But he can look up and he sees this almost like eternal symbol of hope. And when you know the history of that star, and how much like it connects you to the entire history of Middle Earth. Like the star is connected to the Silmarils, connected to the trees. It brings it's almost like the whole history of the world crashes together in that moment. And that hope strengthens Sam in order for them to like continue on, because there are so many points when they're in Mordor where they could just lay down and die and then the story would be over, you know? And it's this hope that's rekindled in Sam's heart that allows him to finish the journey.
Well, you're speaking my language. Let's talk more about Arendelle. No, I completely agree. I mean, the only other point I think I might add, which I think less captures hope, but more just like a full circle moment for Arendelle, obviously, is when they're in Shelob's lair
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
invoke the, you know, name of the brightest of stars when when I think Frodo has the star glass at this
I think
point.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Tolkien says, but a very I forget the quote now, a star had descended into the very earth.
Yes.
Is that's like, yeah, like Shelob is just totally like not expecting that at all. And so you have
Mhm.
it's like a small moment of catastrophe there.
Yeah. And it's also just kind of like poetic justice that the light from the trees that's in the star glass is what hurts Shelob when her mother is the one that destroyed them. Her mother,
Hmm.
her grandmother, or whatever. Just a
Yeah.
little poetic justice.
I
But
love the way that Tolkien does that. Things always come full circle.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. So, what is then Tolkien's funniest moment for you in
Okay,
the text?
so in the Lord of the Rings or like
In
anywhere?
anything. In
Okay,
anything.
so the absolute funniest moment for Tolkien is when Beren and Luthien are going to get the Silmaril. Beren needs the Silmaril in order to win her dad's favor for them to get married. So they go and they get the Silmaril. But then Beren, while he's holding the Silmaril, his hand gets bitten off by the Hound of Morgoth. And then they go back home and he's basically talking to Luthien's dad. And the dad's like, so, what of your quest? What of your vow? Where's the Silmaril that you said you were going to get me? And then Baron is like, don't worry. Even now, a Silmaril is in my hand. And then he holds his arm up and it's like the hand is gone. So he's like, I have a Silmaril. It's in my hand. The problem is I don't have my hand and we need to go get it back. And like, it's just like the funniest most underrated moment where you're reading this like very sad, the Silmarillion is not a happy tale. You're reading this really tragic, sad story. People are dying left and right. And then there's just this moment of like, that's got to be the funniest thing I've ever read. And Thingol thinks it's funny too,
Yeah.
Luthien's dad. And it works. And they get married after that. So it's just, it
Just
cracks me up.
yeah, just Baron with his jester's privilege.
Yes.
Like,
He's like, even
it's
now, a Silmaril is in my hand.
yeah, very much a moment that I could picture just like Fingal just cracking up after he's been so stoic and stone-faced for this whole thing, and he's like, "Ah, you're all right, man."
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. It's like a super tense moment, and then everyone just starts laughing.
Well, I'm sure we won't be laughing after I ask you this question about Tolkien's most heartbreaking moment for you.
Okay, there's a lot.
There's a lot.
I would say in I don't know if this is really counts as an answer, but in Tolkien's own life, when his wife has passed away, so he writes in a letter, kind of going back to the tale of Beren and Luthien, he kind of thinks of his wife as Luthien. And in the story of Beren and Luthien, Beren dies, and then Luthien kind of goes to Mondos, and they're able to like return to the living world. And so Tolkien says in this letter that he's like grieving the death of his wife and he's kind of relating it to Beren and Luthien. And then he says, but the story has gone wrong and I am now like without my Luthien and I can't go and plead before Mondos to get her back. And now I'm just like utterly without her forever, for the rest of his life. And so that's maybe not like, maybe it doesn't count because it's not in the book, but that's like the most devastating thing for me to read because he's kind of relating it back to his story and being like, but the story has gone wrong, it's gone crooked, and I'm left without her now. So sad.
Yeah. I so I'll make this a two-parter because at least for Tolkien, like, he has the hope of seeing her again in heaven. Um, do you think that in Middle-earth, the men, like, they don't know what happens after they die? Do you think for them, it's like our heaven? Or do you think that when Tolkien was writing that, it's just, like, not can't be compared to our afterlife?
Yeah, so, like, the way that Tolkien was writing, he says it somewhere, either in a letter or a draft, but basically, he's kind of coming to this point where he's making Middle-earth, like, our world,
Yeah.
and so eventually, like, you get the story ends at the end of the 3rd age and the beginning of the 4th age, but there's a 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th age that would follow.
Aren't we in, like, the 7th now or
Something like
something?
that, yeah, I don't know, but, yeah, so, like, eventually, the stories of Middle Earth would somehow kind of like become the history of our world. So if you're looking at it from that sense, then I would guess that the afterlives of mortal men would be the same as they are for us. So for Tolkien, he would have that same belief. But at the same time, Tolkien was like very wary of getting to that point. You can tell that he kind of wanted to get there, but he didn't actually want to write it because he felt like he was writing a parody of his own faith or he didn't want to treat it disrespectfully. So, like, probably eventually that's what would have happened.
Yeah. No Dagor Dagorath for us.
Not yet, I guess.
Yeah. Um, okay. Well, my next three-part question about Tolkien characters. So, obviously, you relate to being a hobbit at heart, but if there was a character that you could say that you most identify with, one that you aspire to be like, but might not necessarily feel you embody, and then who do you most want to avoid emulating?
So the character that I most am like is, I mean, I think she's probably in the books, but there's a character in the movies. I think it's Mrs. I forget her name. She's one of the Hobbit moms at the birthday party, and Bilbo says like, are all these children yours? And then she's like, "Mm." And then he's like, my goodness, you have been productive. And I forget her name, but um, she's like standing there with like all her kids. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's the vibe I bring to the function. That's me. Who I would want to be like? I would want to be like Faramir. I feel like he's like the perfect person. He's the perfect man.
I love him.
He is so able to stay on the like clear path ahead of him despite any kind of temptation or scorn from his father or like difficulty in battle. Like he is so he has his head so clearly on his shoulders or whatever the phrase is. So he's like the person that I would aspire to be like. The person I would not want to be like, I would have to say is, I mean, Melkor. At least Sauron like preferred order and he had a plan, but like Melkor's just like, I'm gonna mess up everything and just destroy it all. So like he is obviously not a role model.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think Faramir is, like, underrated goat of The Lord of the Rings. I just love him so much. Did Tolkien say somewhere that he was, like, one of his favorite characters? I mean, Sam might be his favorite character, but I feel like in one of his letters, Tolkien talked about Faramir being, like, one of his favorites. I'd
I
have
feel like
to
he said somewhere even too that like he wishes he was like Faramir, and I can't
Mm,
remember exactly like the context or what, but yeah, he kind of acknowledges like Faramir's like the ideal person.
yeah, He's so great. Okay, last one, last specific one. Sorry, we're not done yet. What's your favorite Tolkien quote of all time?
Okay, let's think. There's a
Hmm,
lot, but there's a
yeah,
poem called "In Western Lands Beneath the Sun," and this is a poem or a song that Sam Gamgee sings when he is climbing the tower, of Orthanc. No. Yes, no. The Tower
Heard
of
of
Cirith
all?
Ungol, yeah, the Tower of Cirith Ungol, and he's trying to find Frodo, he's climbing up, up and up and up, and he gets to, like, this point where he can't go any higher, and then he's, like, just overcome with not despair, but, like, the temptation to despair,
Mhm,
and he sits down and he sings this song, and the song is basically like I'm remembering that in other lands that I can't see right now, there's flowers blooming, the sun is shining, and even though I here am surrounded by darkness and I don't see any way out, I am not going to give up. So he ends the song by saying, "I will not say the day is done, nor bid the stars farewell." And so it's this kind of like defiance against despair. And it's that song then that Frodo hears him singing, and that's how they
mhm.
get reconnected. And so it's like, that's definitely like my favorite Tolkien quote that's carried me through a lot of dark times.
Yeah, that's a beautiful moment. I'm not going to it's fine. Yeah, that's, I love how Tolkien's, like, heroes, how he writes about them being in, like, these moments of despair and just, you know okay, I was thinking about this last night. I'm gonna draw a parallel to Frozen 2, if you will humor me. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Okay. So, you know when Anna is, like, in the cave and she has been, like I guess she knows that Elsa has died, and then she sings this song, and I feel like it is such a Frodo and Sam song. There's this part that she says, "And so I walk through the night, stumbling blindly towards the light,
Mhm.
and just do the next right thing." And I feel like that is just such a, you know, encapsulation of what Sam and Frodo, like, do in Mordor is just walking through the darkness and just trying to do the next right thing until they get to the end of the journey and the end of what they're able to do. And that's when, and you write about this so well, that's when Providence is able to step in and like lift us when we fail and like our humanness, but we've tried to do the right things up until then. And so, like, by grace, like Providence steps in and is able to like bring about, the eucatastrophe. So I just was thinking about that last night. It felt like that was
Yeah,
such a good song.
it's very similar. Yeah, you're right.
Um, okay. So now I have a fun game. Well, first I want to ask you a question before we play a little game at the end of our time. So some people might not know, but you are a big fan of, I think, emo bands and emo songs like Fall Out Boy. And I think you actually retweeted a post on Twitter today that reminded me of this. It was like Fall Out Boy lyrics as Tolkien characters, and it was perfect. So,
I
my question
am,
was,
yes.
although I guess you've already made the connection in these lyrics, what do you feel is the thread that connects emo bands with hobbits and Tolkien?
I'm so glad you asked, actually. I could talk all day about this between Tolkien and emo bands. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So, okay. The first thing is that there is a kind of honesty when you're acknowledging feelings and kind of acknowledge, like, there's like almost like a rawness to Tolkien and emo music that you aren't glazing things over. You're not like sugarcoating stuff. Things are hard sometimes, they're terrible sometimes. But they're also very angsty and just, sometimes things are awful and you have to work yourself through that with some music, some songs. And Tolkien has lots of songs about it. I also think there's like a thread through a lot of emo music with love being kind of important. And it could go, it could be a very terrible relationship. A lot of emo music is not something that you want to aspire to be like, but it's got a common thread of like very intense emotion, and then love as being a thread, heartbreak being a big part of that. So there's quite a lot to it. And then also death. Death is a big part of emo music, especially My Chemical Romance. I feel like their music really touches on that themes of like a really strong sense of justice and
Hmm,
trying to pursue justice at whatever cost that might be. I see that a lot in My Chemical Romance. And you see that in Tolkien too.
okay. That was, like, more profound than honestly I was expecting. So, what is your favorite, like, emo song, like, to relate to Tolkien? Is there one you feel like
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so there's a song by Fall Out Boy that's on their most recent album, and now I'm forgetting what the song is called, but there's a line in the song, and it's "Give up what you love before it does you in." And it's kind of, I don't know what they were intending with the
Take
song,
off
but
your
the
golden
way
ring.
Yes, exactly. The way that I interpret it, I have no idea what they wanted me to interpret it as, but it's give up what you love before it does you in. I picture a seal door, and it's like let go of the ring before it destroys you. And there are a lot of things in our lives, and I talk about this a lot in the book. There are things in our lives, whether it's like an unhealthy habit, like an addiction, anything. We all have
Mhm.
kind of like self-destructive tendencies in one way or another, or things that we love that we know aren't good for us. And it's important to give those things up before they destroy you. Like you can even think of like smoking cigarettes. Very bad for you. Negative consequences will happen if you continue to do that. I don't know, that's kind of just like a almost feels like a silly example, but there are so many things in our lives that need to be sacrificed. And you think of Frodo, he had to give up the Shire in order to save it. So it's kind of going in a different direction, but it's the same sense of sacrifice. So there's quite a lot of it.
Yeah. No, one thing I loved so much about your book is each chapter you end with like practical ways that some of these more abstract concepts or concepts in Tolkien that it's like, go off to war and be a hero. And it's like, well, we don't really have that opportunity. So, like, how do I do this thing? And for this one, this self sacrifice, some of the examples you gave, like, were really profound and like simple for us to carry out in our lives. Like, you talked about how you sacrifice your time by, you know, volunteering to host and plan a festival for your church that no one else is volunteering for. So I mean, I don't want to downplay at all like the examples you gave. I think you're like these might seem silly or like inconsequential, but that's so helpful for readers because that's our lives. I mean, not all of us are going to go on these quests and, destroy the ring and bring peace to all of the world. So that can be kind of demoralizing to think about like, oh, what great things am I going to be able to accomplish? But it's, nurturing your own like corner of your community and what can you do there to bring about change or to make a difference and to kind of edify your own spirit and character, and I think that's one thing that's so great about your book is you give these practical examples that everyone can do. And then at the end, it's like, this was for a different chapter, but it was like, plant a seed like Sam did. This can look like, getting a little plant and nurturing it or planting something in your garden, and it's like, that's just so, like, easy for us to do something like that rather than you know, on an adventure and get a magic seed from the Lady of Lothlorien and then, go through trauma and come back to your home. It's like, okay, well, we're not gonna be able to do that. So I
Yeah,
think
most
that's
of
like
us just
the
live
best.
pretty like normal lives. And so the idea of going off to Mordor is like totally unrealistic. But we can ask ourselves, what sacrifices can I make in my own daily lives? Like, can I, you know, not spend 15 hours a day on my phone and maybe use that time in order to help someone else. That's a sacrifice that I think a lot of people would highly benefit from. Or yeah, like what time do I have that's kind of extra time that maybe I could use to help others, or can I sacrifice like some of my extra income by donating to the food bank? Or like there's so many little ways. Can I make myself uncomfortable by going and introducing myself to my neighbor that I just saw moving in who doesn't have any friends yet? Like even for like kids in school, it's like, oh, there's a new kid in class. I don't like meeting new people. It makes me uncomfortable. If I do this, I'm sacrificing a little bit of my own pride or comfort, but I'm gonna like help someone who's feeling out of place or nervous. So just like endless possibilities here.
Yeah. Yeah, that reminded me of another example that you used that I wanted to kinda ask you about. Like, so you said that you stepped in to do, I think, digital communications or something for a group of nuns that lives near you to,
Hmm.
like, filter out their, like, mean emails that they get. I was like, "Who is
Yeah.
mean emailing these nuns?" Like,
Oh my
"What?"
gosh, you would not believe the emails that they get. Yeah, so I am basically like, that meme and it's like a soldier standing there with the
Yes,
knives
it was,
coming
like,
at them
blocking.
and the little guy sleeping on the bed. Like that's like me with these nuns. Like they get crazy emails and so when it comes I just delete it and then they never see it. And then if they get like
Good.
an actual important email, I just forward it. It's like so easy.
You're literally like the Dunedain Rangers around the Shire, just,
Yes.
like, protecting them.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was just flooring me. I was like, "Why are they emailing these nuns? Like, what could they possibly have done?"
Some people,
Yeah, okay. Well, I wanna play a game. Are you ready for this
I
game?
am ready for this game.
Okay. I wish I had some music. I don't know what I would play, but
They can
anyway,
add it in editing.
yes, I'll make Varking do it. So anyway, this game is called Baby Girl or Unfriend, wherein I
I
will
have
say a
my little
character.
people.
Hey, okay.
You told
Baby
me to
girl
make
or
these, so
unfriend.
I did it.
That's so
We're
perfect.
ready.
Okay. Wherein I will say a character from Tolkien, and T must say whether this character is baby girl or unfriend. So, to start with, we'll do two easy ones to show our audience how this game works. So, number one, Sauron, baby girl or unfriend?
Baby girl.
Obviously. Number two, Feanor, baby girl or unfriend?
Unfriend.
Also, obviously. Okay, now I think we know how the game works. This is going to be kind of rapid fire. So,
Okay, I'm ready.
you have not seen this list, so I want your gut reaction to this character.
Okay,
So, here we go. Finrod.
baby girl.
Very good. Damrod.
Baby girl.
Karkaroth.
Oh no. Unfriend.
Yeah, it's tough because he's
I'm like,
kind
he's
of a
a
puppy,
yeah,
but he's evil.
Yeah, evil puppy.
Okay, Barlam and Butterbur.
This is hard.
I know.
Unfriend.
Wait, why is he unfriend to you?
I don't
wanna
know. I gotta answer in one way or the other. He's not baby girl though, so I
Yeah.
mean, if we only have two options, he'd really realistically be somewhere in the middle.
I thought about adding a couple more because I feel like there's some nuance in between these two, but nah, we're just doing baby girl or unfriend. Celeborn.
Stop.
I wasn't gonna make it easy.
Unfriend.
Oh no! For now, I'm gonna mark this one down as a let's revisit this
He's
in like
definitely
6
not
months.
baby girl
Yet.
yet.
Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
see.
Waldrig.
Baby girl.
Okay. Gothmog of the Balrog variety.
Oh, he's so cool.
I know.
Unfriend.
I know. He did kill.
Feanor's
some very-
cool too, but
But he's unfriend for
Yeah.
real. Haleth. Yeah, someone told me to add that. I was like, it's obvious, but I want to have her in here. Denethor from the books.
unfriend.
Smeagol.
Baby girl. Well, it
Gollum.
depends on has he
Gollum.
started eating babies yet?
Well, Smeagol is baby girl. Now Gollum can
Gollum
be.
is unfriend.
Yeah. Glaurung.
Ugh, once again, very cool, but, unfriend.
Ungoliant.
Sometimes a villain gets to a point where they become baby girl, so it's really
Yeah,
difficult.
but Ungoliant didn't get there.
Nah.
No, that's fair. Eldarian.
Ugh, unfriend.
Good answer.
Hate that guy.
Aorn.
Beorn, he's baby girl.
Glug.
Baby girl. 100%. Poor Glug. He did not
Shout out
deserve.
to, who is it that just like hates Glug? Is that Rosie? Someone just hates Glug. I always think about Traitor.
He did not. Oh, yeah. I think I posted it after the season finale. I was like, we are not friends with Glug anymore. Or I had like a Glug fan club thing that I made, and then I put a big X on it. But really,
Friendship with Glug
it's not
ended.
his fault. It's not like he like went to, college and learned how to like think critically. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
he's just a poor little guy.
greater people than Glug have been taken in by Sauron's machinations. So,
Yeah. Poor
yeah.
guy.
Okay.
Glug Jr. will avenge him.
Yes, I hope Glug
I
Jr.
hope
will
so.
make an appearance. Or Mrs. Glug.
Yeah, I wonder if she's around still.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay. Mydros.
Baby girl.
I like it. Gonbury Gone.
I don't even like remember anything about this guy. I don't even unfriend, I guess.
Mm,
I remember just kind of bad vibes, but he's not someone I've thought about.
yeah.
What would
I
you
mean,
say? Am I
he's
right?
fair. Well, I would actually characterize him as
He's
baby girl.
baby
This one
girl.
was kind of a pull. Like, I was like, I don't know. There's not a lot of characters. Well, I mean, I guess you could say there are a lot of characters in Lord of the Rings who don't like get mentioned all that much,
Mm-hmm.
but the ones that don't get mentioned that much don't really do much. And I feel like he's got his
Yeah.
own little, like he did help them. I mean, maybe I should have
Yeah.
reread this part, but
Unfriending someone is so mean. Maybe I'll just baby girl him.
he is, I just always remember him because he's one of the Woses, and Tolkien loved that word. Um, okay. Pharazôn.
Oh no. Baby girl.
Yeah. I feel like I knew I was gonna be like aligned with you on all of these. Pretty
I mean,
much.
it's just logic.
Yeah. That's what, okay. So shout out to the male members of Fellowship of Fans who did not understand this game.
And we're
When I
not
was
explaining it. I don't want to explain it.
no,
You
no.
get it or
I
you
feel
don't.
like yeah. Um yeah, they were like, just say like Legolas, or I was like, no, no, it can't be like obviously any one of our heroes is pretty like Aragorn.
Yeah.
Obviously, like we
Yeah.
know he's baby girl.
Of course.
It's not even
Yeah,
a
we have to get
question.
a little tricky here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just have a few more. So Radagast.
In the book or the movies?
I don't know.
I guess he's baby girl. He didn't really do anything wrong on purpose. He's just
Yeah.
not like the best.
He just likes animals, you
Yeah.
know? He just gets distracted. Single.
Ugh, unfriend.
Yeah. Okay, this is an interesting one. Thuringwithil.
She's so cool.
I know. Has
Baby
she
girl.
reached baby? I
Yeah.
agree. She has reached baby girl status. And our last one, Celebrimbor.
Baby girl.
Easy.
Of course. Of course.
Easy. Okay. Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Did you like those ones?
Now I just have these little guys. I'll just keep them around.
You should keep them.
I
I'm
am.
like, I'll ask Marking to do something in post. Like maybe we can flash one of the images on either side as you answer too.
That would be
So
fun. Yeah.
yeah. That was my last question. Okay. I'm sure I'll cut some of this out.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any baby girls or unfriends that I didn't mention that you felt like I should?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't have any expectations.
Okay. Well, Caitlin, oh, it's weird to call you that. Is that weird? I
It
just
is kind
always
of
call you
weird.
T.
Yeah. That's okay. Both are me.
Yeah. T, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a wonderful and enlightening discussion. And I loved your book, as I've already said like a million times. For everyone else, buy his book, Into the Heart of Middle Earth, comes out on February 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so thank you very much. Can you tell us anything else that you've got coming up that you want anyone to know about? Book signings, events, virtual launch, parties. We can
Oh,
kind of have a
yeah. When is
thing.
this coming out? I don't know. When's this video coming out?
I don't know. Whenever we finish editing it.
Yeah. Well, February 20th in my Discord server, we're having a virtual launch party and not 100% sure what that will entail, but it will be fun. I think there will be some giveaways, like, of my book and stuff. We might do trivia if I can
What
figure
about
out how
Baby
to.
Girl and Ember?
Yeah, we would play some games. So overall, it should be a fun night. We'll do that in the Discord on February 20th, and then I have our book club coming up. We're reading my book in March and April. So if anyone would like to join and read the book together, they're more than welcome to. And then after that, in May, we're going to start the Lord of the Rings, and that's going to be like it's going to be May through November. So it's kind of going to be a slow read along together, and it'll be kind of a more leisurely pace because with this Silmarillion book club, it's been kind of like,
Fast pace.
yeah, very fast. It's like been a sprint. So we're going to take a nice little leisurely walk through the Lord of the Rings.
Awesome. Well, that sounds great. I'm excited for the Lord of the Rings book club. It's been a minute since I did a reread, so that should be really fun. And
Hmm.
I will see you in like a month at
Yeah,
your
I'm
book
going to see you
signing.
in, is it March 28th? I'm doing a book
Yeah,
signing in McKinney, Texas. So
yeah.
if anyone lives nearby, they can check my website for the details.
Thank you so much, T, and everyone. The book is Into the Heart of Middle Earth. Pre-order now. It's an amazing book, and everyone should read it. And thank you for joining us, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you for having me on. This was so fun.
Yay. Okay, bye.